Welcome back to the Waterboyz podcast. This is episode 9 already. We took a 1 week's absence due to reading week on the Atlantic side of the border here.
Oh, yeah.
So we're back this week with a special guest, Christian Desreux.
Christian Desreux.
Yeah.
What a fella.
He was quite the interesting interview, and we can't wait for you guys to hear it after. But first, we have some rugby and some sports to talk about because we've been gone for a week.
Yeah, well, rugby is a sport. But this is Six Nations in under 6 minutes. The French are in contention for the Triple Crown this year, to say the least. Just upsetting the Scottish by 4 points. That was a heck of a game. They just need to shore up that defensive line. They allowed a couple breaks from the Scots that I wasn't expecting to see. But I wasn't expecting to see the French off to a 3-0 start. 3-0 on the season in a 6-game season for Six Nations is a heck of a start, and it's going to be real interesting to see this championship this year.
What's the standings look like right now for them?
Yeah, so French are atop the standings, and under that, I would say near the end of the season, we'd expect the Scots to be up there. The Irish are doing real well. They just had a big win this last weekend as well.
Against your Wales team? Or?
No. They played the Italian team.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, the English did upset the Welsh. You know, that does upset my heart. But at the end of the day, that was a good game. We lost by 4 points there. I believe the final score was 23-19. But that was a good game. And, in the Six Nations history, English and Welsh are tied with the most titles. So, traditionally, those are the two very good teams to watch. Yeah, two very strong perennial teams. Mm-hmm. So, very interesting to see how this season will play out with the French kind of
taking control.
Kind of causing some upset there.
So, for your Welsh team, is it kind of a disappointment this season, or?
I don't want to call it a disappointment yet. We're halfway through it, and we got it back in 2021. So, the focus is shoring up the defense, as any rugby team really focuses on. That's where the games are won in almost any sport is defense.
Hopefully,
very much so rugby.
Last half of the season, they can improve their game a little bit.
Yeah,
better.
I can't say we're in the running as much as the Scots, English, Irish, and French teams, but we could beat Italy. We could beat Italy, and as long as we beat the English later on, that's all that matters.
You'll be happy.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good.
But that's just a brief wrap up of this weekend, and this upcoming weekend is going to look real interesting. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. The French have a good opponent. I believe they are playing Irish. Maybe. So we'll see how that possible matchup goes. I believe that's the matchup, but that's going to be a real interesting game because that's two teams that are atop the standings right now and two very offensive powerhouses. Mm-hmm. They run real well on the edges. So, anyway, basketball. DeRozan? Question mark?
MVP? Question mark?
Yes. That's my statement. I'd say it's deserving.
I'd say he at least deserves some. He's putting the team on his back.
Motivation.
The man's a baller.
He is.
And he's an absolute king of the fourth quarter. He's a king in the mid-range game.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anyone better.
Assisting too. He's a team player.
He designed his game, but from what I remember, off of Kobe, mid-range.
Yeah. He's somewhat overlooked though before this season, but.
Oh, you got Joel Embiid, who's playing unreal too. So. I think the MVP should go to DeRozan, but some people are going to say Embiid because he's a big man and he's doing what he's doing, which is fair. But speaking about Embiid, he just got a new dynamic partner in James Harden.
Yeah.
And in only his second game, puts up a triple-double yesterday against the Knicks and had a highlight reel pass, 2-on-1 break, dishes it behind his back to Embiid, and Embiid slams it.
Beat an old rival in a new city for James Harden. That's it's impressive. You know, he made the move. You and I both had some questions, we'll admit, on that move. But so far, it turns out to be a good choice by Philly.
Yeah, Philly.
Yeah. The Nets are kind of coming up short there on that trade.
And I don't think so yet. But Ben Simmons hasn't played yet. He's still dealing with back soreness. But so far for Philly, it looks what they gave up is okay because James Harden is back to playing like James Harden. The Lakers are the biggest disappointment in the NBA this season. Let's call it frank.
It's an old team.
They really are. I think the average age is like 31, 32 on the team.
Los Angeles retirement home.
Basically, Russell Westbrook, he's not playing like himself. And he hasn't been playing. He's on the decline, obviously, in his career, which is unfortunate to see. But it's sad that they're pairing up right now, and this is the outcome that it has. You would expect a lot better from an Anthony Davis caliber player, LeBron James, and Russell Westbrook.
Yeah. If it was 2012, this team would be amazing. 2014, this team would be amazing. But
I don't even know. Anthony Davis wouldn't even. I think he would have just got in the league in 2012.
Okay.
So.
Well, he came in with a splash. So. But you know who is heating up in the great state of California? Curry. He can't miss. He can't miss, Justin.
Man. Did you see his All-Star performance?
Yes. Did you see him warming up the other day?
Yeah, he couldn't miss. He couldn't miss a shot. But his 50-point All-Star game performance, that was pretty.
No, granted, nobody plays defense in the All-Star game.
Well,
but to drop big numbers like that,
yeah.
Even if you're in a shoot-around, that is big.
Yeah, and then I'd be scared if I was any other team other than Phoenix to play Golden State because they're just so explosive. They have so many shooters. They're so fast-paced. Yeah. They've played this way for like 7-8 years now, just fast-paced basketball. You never know like what they're actually doing. Well, you kind of do, but it's always fast-paced. And just like that, 30 seconds later, they could score 9 on you.
Yeah, and they make off-season moves that are very impressive, too.
Mm-hmm.
They play well on the court in the in-season. They carry that in the postseason real well. And then their off-season is amazing as well. There's something in the water in the Bay Area. And it was real interesting to see them play. And I think they're a contender.
Oh, they're 100% a contender in the NBA.
Oh, they are. But I think, practically speaking, if you're a betting man, Golden State is the team to bet on. In a series, I'm putting money on Golden State against Phoenix. But Philly, I don't know. It's hard to see that. It's hard to predict that. You know, East meets West. I like that matchup too.
I like the duo that Philly has put together. It's kind of like a Kobe Shaq.
Yeah. You know, James Harden there in Philly. What a duo that he has with that.
It's Kobe Shaq 2.0.
Oh yeah.
There's nothing else to say about it. Yeah. It's literally just Kobe Shaq 2.0 in the making, it feels like. And I can't see them not winning an NBA title this year. I hope that... I kind of want to see Phoenix win, but I feel like a team coming out of the East, whether it's the Bucks or Philly or the Nets or even the Heat maybe, I feel like a team from the East is winning this year. But...
yeah, just a bit more contention coming out of the East.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit tighter of a race there. West still got some great teams, but switching tracks.
Yeah, moving to the NHL, we got a little bit of, instead of a closer race, Colorado's kind of pulling away in the West.
We called that about a month ago, though.
Yeah, Colorado.
That's a hot team.
Is dangerous.
Yeah.
Very dangerous team. Play against any player can step up on that team, it feels like, at any given moment.
Yeah. Salary cap is real hard to manage in the NHL, but if Colorado can find a way to keep that first two lines even. And
Joe Sakic is a great GM.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. So I think that is going to be a big perennial team if it comes down to it.
So they're pulling away in the West, but we also have in the East some football game-like scores. The other night we
10-7 was it?
Yeah, we had a game 10-7. Toronto Maple Leafs over the Detroit Red Wings, in which they outscored. I forget which game it was in the NFL, where the score was 9-6. I'm pretty sure it was Buffalo versus
10-7 is even high for baseball.
Oh yeah, and I didn't really. I was watching it, but like
that was a different game in the third period, though.
Oh, no goalie could stop a puck.
No. I don't know what happened in the goalie's heads, but it was a high-scored game in the first two periods. I was like, wow.
It was 7-2 after 2 for Toronto.
I was like, I'm gonna do some other stuff. I might start cooking some dinner. I might go do this. In the third period, I come back and it's a football score. And I'm like, man.
Toronto almost blew it. We're not gonna talk about that because they didn't blow it. Mitch Marner had 4 goals and 2 assists in the game, making a 6.9. I'm pretty sure that's the highest he's ever had in his career. So congrats to him on that because he is an underrated star in this league. I've been saying it since he came into the league. Shout out back home if you're listening. I always said Mitch Marner was better than Austin Matthews, and maybe he is. I don't know.
This weekend he was.
That will start some drama.
But, that will. That's a clip. But, yeah, you got to look at Austin Matthews as an MVP player. Maybe not this season.
I think he's in contention for the Hart. I also think McDavid's also up there, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
McDavid
needs a better team around him.
And Ovechkin is up there again this year because for what he's doing at the age of 36, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
It's really impressive, so you got to give it to him.
I couldn't do it at 21.
He's on pace, I think, to beat Gretzky's goal record, but we'll talk about that later.
The road to 700 is an interesting one.
Yeah, but other than that, in hockey, Jack Eichel is returning, has returned to the Vegas Golden Knights lineup for the first time since being traded from Buffalo early on in the season, and he's made quite an impact in his first couple games, but they did play Colorado the other night, and Colorado still beat them. So I know it's only one game, but I don't think Vegas is going to be the team to beat. I think it's Colorado, safe to say.
I don't think Vegas is the team to beat either, but you can't judge Eichel and his impact off a Colorado game. That's
a big game.
Yeah.
That's a big game.
You can't judge Vegas off that game with Colorado. That's a big game.
That's
a star-studded cast, and you can't judge Jack Eichel's impact on Vegas off of that game.
Vegas with Jack Eichel was supposed to be better than Colorado.
Maybe a couple months ago, but Colorado has run away with it. They have that momentum, and you can't stop that train, right? It's just a matter of who's going to be second now. And I think Colorado, as long as they don't hit a bump in the road, they're on pretty much an express lane.
To the Stanley Cup final?
Yeah.
The only team that I could see giving them any trouble would be Minnesota, I feel like. A lot of people feel like Edmonton still has a chance.
Yeah.
I don't know. Calgary also is in the mix, but Calgary's pretty good. I will say that. I would like to see... That would be a great matchup in the playoffs, Colorado versus Calgary.
Oh, yeah.
But in terms of who I think is going to win, I think it's got to be Colorado. There's no question about it at this point. Like you said, if something comes up and there's injuries that come up, like Nathan McKinnon goes down again or something, like Cale Makar.
God forbid, yeah.
Then, yes, they're a weaker team. But like we saw
they
when
do
Nathan
have the
McKinnon...
lines to bring up that power again.
But like we saw when Nathan McKinnon went down,
they
were rolling.
Yeah. There's really no stopping that team except something big.
Mm-hmm.
So, going to be real interesting to see 2nd, 3rd, and 4th place play out in the West. Because Vegas, I think, just needs a little time to get back on track. Might be a different conversation come a couple weeks here, a few weeks, but playoffs are around the corner, and that's going to come quick.
Yep.
So
we got a month.
A
couple weeks left, I think, until playoffs.
8 weeks total,
yeah,
I think.
6 weeks maybe.
Yeah, so you need something big to turn around to get deep into the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And 2 months from now is a different conversation because hockey playoffs are...
Trade deadline coming up.
Hockey playoffs are a different...
breed.
Yeah, different.
Playoff beard.
Different
Lastly, before we turn it to Christian Desreux, first time in 9 episodes we're talking about this, but we're talking about it now.
Baseball.
The MLB.
Yeah.
There hasn't been much to talk about. We do realize that we haven't talked about it, but
if they don't meet this deadline,
they got to make a deal soon. And if not, the MLB is going to start canceling regular season games, unfortunately for the MLB. But the strike has gone on long enough, in my opinion. Like, you got to get a deal done soon here, boys. Like, you got to get it done. It has to be done.
There's always the talk, billionaires versus millionaires, but there was a tweet that came out, and that's not the case. It's just owners versus players.
Mm-hmm.
And players are underpaid, in my opinion.
Some are.
Yeah. So
some are making $500 million deals, so.
Yeah. What do you think about a salary cap in baseball?
14 years, 13 years.
What do you think about a salary cap in baseball? Kind of disperse the wealth there.
I think it would make it more parity in the league because you always have the teams like the Dodgers who can go into the luxury tax every year.
Yep.
And the Yankees. I do think that if you had a higher cap like hockey, it would make it a lot more interesting, I think, every year. But saying that, there is always competition. The Dodgers and the Yankees don't always win.
Yeah, it's comes down to who's got the stamina for all season and who can play that many games. You know, there's that competition there, but it really comes down to who's got that stamina, who can go and play that many games, the moves you make. So it does make it more fair. Well, it is fair the way it is now where there is that competition, but if a salary cap was introduced, I think it could really kind of improve the game in ways we haven't seen. Not a low salary cap, but fairly high. But there is a big division of wealth in a single clubhouse. Pick anyone.
Yeah.
And there's a player picking up change, and there's a player picking up the big bucks.
Mm-hmm.
So baseball's a team sport, and I think needs to represent that.
I agree with you. I do think players are, well, we're talking about millionaires here. Like, we gotta be realistic.
This is money.
They're making good money.
This is good money.
No matter what, it's good money. But
it's got to represent the effort being put in.
Yeah, in terms of parity between the players being paid, I think it has to be strengthened up a little bit.
And even other leagues. Yeah, there are some contracts that resemble Patrick Mahomes, but you know, there are other contracts that are pennies compared to some football or hockey players.
Mm-hmm. So, unfortunately, that's all we have for baseball right now because they're on this strike. We do look forward to talking about it more, but for right now, we can't really do much about it while they're in this lockdown.
Besides my Cubs making some bad decisions, but that's a story for another time.
Yes. We will get into that later in the year for you.
But now we got Christian Desreux, a football player, a running back, rugby player, played some hockey. Wrestler, Jujitsu, MMA.
Yeah, everything basically.
What hasn't this kid played?
Yeah, really.
Yeah, great interview. Real excited about it. Thank you for listening, and here it is.
Welcome back to the Waterboyz podcast. This is episode 9 after a 1 week lapse off for reading week. We're back and we have a special guest. Christian Desreux. He's a Holland College football player, but he plays a lot more sports than just that. He recently just won the AFL Atlantic Football League Rookie of the Year and was named All-Star as well, or Offensive All-Star as well. You're a running back.
Yep.
So we're happy to have you on the show, and can't wait to hear a little bit of your career.
Yeah, happy to be here. Happy to talk about it.
Whole life in sports, yeah.
No, I started playing football when I was 11 years old, actually, and I was young in my grade, so I was playing against the 15-year-olds. They didn't have like the younger leagues; they just kind of boosted me up, and I learned how to take a hit pretty quick. I was 4'7", 70 pounds. So,
Was football your first sport? Sorry.
Football wasn't actually. I played hockey from the age of like 12 to 16. I didn't play my last year in midget just because like COVID and stuff like that. And I started to play football when I was 11, so it was kind of. I guess I was 10 when I started playing hockey, so it was like a year or two before I started playing football.
Yeah, so you started in hockey, right?
Yeah.
And that's where sports began?
Yeah, exactly. So I started in hockey. I lived in Calgary for a little bit, and I was playing hockey out there. And then when I came back, I was playing hockey and football. But I just after a while playing hockey and football, I wasn't really gifted in hockey the same way. I was kind of like chopping at the ice more than gliding. So
you're skating like Walter
yeah,
Payton
exactly.
out there.
And like in hockey, like I could skate coast to coast, no problem. But I'd shoot at the goalie's chest every time. So it wasn't much of a goal scorer or anything like that. So I started playing football, and I started off like third string and just slowly kind of moved my way up the ranks and liked it a lot.
Was your family sports family? Is that how it all got started for you? Introduced to it?
Well, some of my family yes, some of my family no. So my grandfather, he actually played in the CFL for Calgary Stampeders. He had a full scholarship.
When was that?
His name is Laurie DeRozan.
Okay.
And he basically his very first snap in practice, like he was like big, like everyone was scouting him, like talking big about him. His very first snap, he was quarterback. He took it, and his left tackle completely blew the assignment, and the D end lit him up and took his hip right out.
Really?
Oh yeah, so like he stopped. That was the end of his football career right there. But he made it. So
Jeez.
you know what? He was in the backfield for
He was
the
there.
Stampeders and stuff like that. But
What year was that?
oh, I have
Like 19...
probably like 1980s or something like that.
Okay.
He's an older fella.
Yeah.
But no, like he was a really good football player. My grandfather was a really good hockey player. My uncle was like a Canada Games softball player and stuff like that. So there is definitely some athletes.
Just an overall sports genetic. In
Yeah, there definitely is. There's certain family members that like can't even like pick up a hockey stick and like stand straight, or like can't no golf swing, nothing. But yeah, there's definitely a little bit of genetics there.
So for you, you played more than just football. So can you tell us all the sports that you play?
All the sports that I've ever played, or just right now?
Currently, let's just go right now.
Okay. So right now, I play football for the Holland College Hurricanes, running back. I wrestle, I do Jujitsu, MMA, and kickboxing as well. So my off season isn't really an off season. It's more so just kind of like year-round training consistently, staying in shape and stuff like that. And I guess I also kind of do powerlifting as well. Not like competitively, I don't compete, but I did it in high school. I still kind of use the same strength-based programs in the gym to keep my strength up for wrestling. And
Yeah, you're
football.
doing a lot of BFS stuff, bigger, faster, stronger, right? Like bench, squat,
Yeah,
all
I
that stuff.
don't do deadlift anymore because I was trying to break the pound for pound record at Bluefield.
Okay.
And so what I did was I cut 14 pounds in 10 days for the for the competition.
Yeah.
No, just
Oh,
for
okay.
powerlifting, yeah. And my bench stayed the same, my squat was a little bit less, and my deadlift was a lot less because I just weighed so much less. I was still eating 3 meals a day, but you know the weight wasn't there to pull, and I ended up hurting my back. So I don't deadlift anymore, but I still squat, I still bench, and my numbers are still going up and stuff like that.
So you mentioned football was your first sport. You played at 11. You joined the Cornwall Timberwolves in Bantam, was it?
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure it was Bantam back then. They didn't have an Atom League at the time. And my coach was Mark Green. Shout out to Mark, absolute gem. I love that guy. And I can still remember the very first like hitting practice that we had. I went up against Aidan O'Rourke. Aidan O'Rourke is currently the starting center for Acadia. He weighs, I don't know, probably like 280, just an absolute beast, like super, super strong kid.
Mm-hmm.
And he was 15 and I was 11. I was 4'7", like 70 pounds.
Yeah.
I played lacrosse at the time, so like I thought I could take a hit, but it was like me and him that met up in like the big cat drill essentially.
Yeah.
And coach was like, no, get him out of there. I was like, oh, wait a sec. Like,
I got this.
Who knows? And yeah, the second they blew the whistle, I just got blown back. But I mean, it's, if I could take a hit from him, right, I figured I could take a hit from the other kids.
And did you start playing running back right away, or did you transition? Were you a defensive player?
It was actually my very first position was running back. I always wanted to be just like the ball carrier and stuff like that. And honestly, like I loved like Bo Jackson and stuff like that. So I don't know, it just kind of like came naturally to me that that's the position I wanted to play. And I did in later years kind of play both sides of the ball. Like my last year of high school, I would play running back and then I'd play linebacker. So I didn't come off the field.
Middle, weak side.
I played middle, but it was 6-man football because of COVID. So
it is a bit quicker too.
Yeah, basically it was watch the quarterback and watch the running back. If it's a handoff, my guy.
Yeah.
If the quarterback tries to do anything funky, it's
Sneak
my
out of
guy.
the pocket,
But yeah, I didn't really have to cover too much. It was more so just down the middle.
You play a little special teams now, don't you?
Yeah, I played kickoff and kick return and punt return field goal. So
Do you still play special teams?
I couldn't by the end of the season because like at the beginning of the season the team wasn't doing great because we probably had like, I don't know, 5 or 6 seniors and the rest of the team were rookies.
Yeah.
So we just had a lot to figure out. Like the team chemistry wasn't all there. Like, we had really good athletes, but we didn't really like synchronize well on the field, especially if playing against other teams that had like all 23, 24-year-old players who've been playing with each other for, as long as they possibly can, eligibility wise. And so I played all the special teams until the last like 2 games, because the very last regular season game, I can still remember I listened to When It Rains It Pours by 50 Cent for the first time on the bus ride there, and I was like, okay, like it's time to get a little bit of something going here. And I scored 4 touchdowns that game and ran for like, I think it was 243 yards or something like that. I don't quite remember, but 2 of the touchdowns got called back, but nevertheless, I was running an awful lot.
You guys did take a lot of penalties this year.
Oh yeah, we definitely did. We took a bit too many penalties.
That was the drawback.
That was the drawback, right? We're a really young team, and sometimes like emotions were high, and people weren't getting the result they wanted on the field that they thought they were worth and stuff like that. So I mean, emotions got high, but I think this next year coming up, I think it'll be a lot different than this year. We really saw the potential of the team at the end of the season this year.
Yeah. So you have a lot of rookies, and you have a lot of athletic talent on the field.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, was there a bit of an individual sense this year?
There was it was almost kind of like, I don't know, in most like football years that I've played, there's been like a brotherhood, because of the Cornwall Timberwolves, like we played with each other year after year after year.
And then you go to Holland College.
Yeah, and then I went to Holland College, and it was like, everyone's rookies coming in from everywhere. So there wasn't like a base. So people were trying to figure out their role as the season kind of went. And it was a little bit of like individual play from time to time. I mean, most of the time, like we were preaching to each other, like team play.
Yeah.
But on the field, sometimes it kind of came out individual.
Yeah. So you ended up coming up with Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
Right?
2021 Rookie of the Year. I was super proud to receive that award, but in all honesty, the way my mindset kind of works is, well, next year I gotta get MVP. So that's kind of what I have my aspirations for in the next season.
So coming off your Rookie of the Year, you obviously were scouted coming out of high school. Was Holland College your first option?
So coming out of like the Cornwall Timberwolves program, I think it was like maybe 2 or 3 coaches that like had expressed interest or whatever. They were like, yeah, like, congratulations on a good season, blah, blah, blah. Because I was playing both sides of the ball that time.
Were they AFL coaches or AUS coaches as well?
Like Bishops had reached out, and I forget, like my coaches told me that like other coaches were asking them about them from like OUA kind of area. But because it's 6-man football, it's such a different game playing 12-man football than 6. So I was kind of at a disadvantage, like scouting wise, because even though I was playing really good, scoring like 2 or 3 touchdowns a game and maybe like 22 tackles on defense in the same game, it's like it's a completely different game than 12-man tackle football. Like it's just so many more bodies on the field, so many more positions, so many more things going on. So I didn't really have like a whole lot of like options for like scholarship wise. If I wanted just to go to like Queens or something like that, I could like go to tryouts and maybe redshirt and stuff like that. But I mean, Holland College was close to home, and a couple of my teammates from prior years were coming here and stuff like that. So I figured like best thing for someone my age, one of my coaches said, was it's repetition. So like I need to be touching the ball as much as possible to get the most experience before I like just show up at like a really good school, because it's just the competition's way different. So Holland College like wasn't like the number one school like I don't hope it's like the max of my football career, but it's definitely a great place to start for development and stuff like that.
Yeah, so just from the running back side, formations are different. Going from 6-man to Holland College.
Yeah.
Formations are different. Plays are different. Gaps are different.
Field size.
Assignments are different. Field size.
Coaching style.
Everything has just been turned on its head. What was the biggest adjustment for you?
100% reading blocks. Any of my O-linemen would be able to tell you that, like, at the beginning of the season, like, because it's just so much different. Like, in 6-man football, we ran I formation, and we had 3 linemen. So it was 3 linemen, a quarterback, a running back, and Parker Williams, a big man, as my fullback. And it's basically just run, and Parker's going to take the first guy, and then I'm just going to run as fast as I can off that block.
Just read it.
Yeah, just read it.
Yeah.
Then when you have 12-man football, it's like I'd take the handoff and I'd look up, and if they were sending the house where there's 3 guys that I now have to, like, 3 different blocks.
The full blitz.
Yes,
3
exactly. And it's like, what's happening here? Like I used to read 1 block and that was it, and now it's like there's huge guys just like ripping and swimming and stuff like that, trying to get to me, and it was just completely different from anything I'd ever played. And it wasn't until like maybe the 4th or 5th game that I was starting to kind of like get the concept where like, because we had repped enough times in practice, like I knew like where the gap was supposed to be and where my lineman was looking to block and like where the space was going to be and stuff like that. And in the last regular season game, that's when I felt like most confident. Like I know the playbook, I know exactly where the blocks are going to be, and I know that I can outrun every single one of those lines.
It is a lot faster too.
A lot faster pace, and especially because like as a rookie going up against people who have played at that level before, they have that, not only that experience, but they're also older and like I wouldn't say like stronger, most of them, but they've had more time to work on their position and stuff like that. So when it came down to the nitty gritty, like one-on-one, I would stiff iron most of the time. But coming through a gap, they all know that I'm there. Like many a time I got just stuffed. So yeah.
So obviously you played rugby growing up.
Yep.
Started in high school. Do you think that helped you with football?
I would say football helped me with rugby mostly, because when I played rugby in the 10th grade, Mr. Boudreau was my coach, and he was a phenomenal coach. Like he explained the game to a T. I understood the rules. The very first game, I understood what my assignments were and just kind of like the flow, like how I was supposed to play. I played hooker in sevens.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was kind of up in the action, stuff like that. And because I played a little bit of defense as well at that time, like I knew how to tackle safely and stuff like that. So, you know, I'm used to having people run at me with their head down, or like a huge shoulder check, trying to get like a highlight film tape. So in rugby, it's more of like a gentleman's sport. Like they wrap you up.
Exactly.
So
they'll see you down too.
Yeah, they'll see me down, and it's not just like they can't just like
Come
blow through me. Like they have
to
drag me down. And I was so used to stiff arming as a running back that a lot of times I was able to break through at least the first like tackle or two.
There's really no shedding in rugby. Did you start with sevens?
I started with sevens, yeah, and then so that's like A at Bluefield, and then in grade 11 I was going to try out for the AAA team, which is 15s, I believe, and COVID happened, so I didn't get that opportunity, unfortunately. But then in the 12th grade, after I'd had my last year of football, like for Cornwall Timberwolves, I played AAA rugby, and I absolutely loved it. I didn't play hooker anymore, I played flanker.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time, like if the ball was coming out to me on the edge, it was either going to the wing and I was going to win the ruck against the other wing, like almost 100% of the time. Or it was going to be me, I was going to outrun the flanker and then stiff arm the wing. That was kind of like my game plan and stuff like that. But I was one of the captains on the team, and I loved rugby. Like honestly, if I wasn't playing football, I'd be in Australia right now.
Australia?
Oh yeah, 100%. Like they love the sport down there, and if football doesn't work out like further on in life, like I would have zero problem going and joining the club down there.
Yeah, that interests me. I saw an article for a jobs article about virtual reality and the construction. And there you said you want to do a 2-2 with Holland College in Australia.
Yeah, so my initial kind of thought process there was I didn't have like a money offer to go play football anywhere, and so I knew I'd be biting myself in the butt, like, because I didn't know what I wanted to take. And there was all this pressure saying like, oh, well, you're graduating high school. Like, what are you going to do with your life? And I was like, I don't know. I'm 17. Like, I'm just chilling. Like, I got good grades. I'm like, playing sports and stuff. Like, isn't that what I'm supposed to be doing? And eventually, I was talking to like one of like the guidance counselors or whatever, because they guide you through like admissions and stuff like that to college, university. And they just handed me a pamphlet. They said like, what are you interested in? I was like, well, kinesiology, like exercise science. I love my athletics and stuff like that. And I was looking through like all of like the schools that Holland College has like accreditation programs with. And I saw Griffith University, Gold Coast, Australia. And I've always wanted to live in Australia. Like at some point in my life, I will be in Australia. I know that for a fact.
Yeah.
And it's called Surfer's Paradise down there. It's just absolutely like beautiful. And so my original idea was if I don't go somewhere for football, because right now, like after just getting Rookie of the Year and like really loving the season and just seeing my own personal progression, my goal right now is to go play either like AUS or OUA football. If that doesn't work out after my second year, then I still have the opportunity to go to Griffith University in Australia and go play rugby down there for 2 years and see what it's like down in Aussie's life.
Yeah. That's awesome. So that really is interesting, going back a little bit. You said football helped you with rugby more than rugby helped you with football.
I believe so.
Yeah, see, that really interests me is because I see a lot of football players thinking they'd be an awesome rugby player because they got that confidence from wearing pads.
Nope.
You know, but you run a bit different and it's really hard to adjust.
Yeah.
So how did you make that adjustment?
I have to give credit to the coaches, both Mr. Boudreau and Donnie Saunier in my 12th grade, because they really just kind of like drilled at home that like space is time.
Yeah.
So when you're on defense playing rugby, you need to take away that space as soon as you can without being offside, because if they have time to make the play and they just create more space. So they really drilled home like kind of the logistics of how to play rugby that I had like previously no idea, like even really what rugby was. If you were to show me a game, I'd just see people running back and forth. I wouldn't understand it. But they were able to give me like the rules and like the flow of the game, like so I understood it. And then it was kind of like the skills in football, like my footwork as a running back were kind of similar, like shedding tackles and stuff like that. Like, because as a running back, I think it's your personal job to always beat the first guy. And in rugby, there's one guy who's assigned to you. It's not like football where they sit in the house and there's six. Like if someone's going to pass it out and go for someone else and go for a try. But in rugby, it was like they taught me, they drilled home what was important in the game, and then like my athletics were able to translate over very nicely with the way that their coaching style was, I think.
So for me, I just want to know, your off season that isn't an off season, is it designed to try and help you with football, or is it just you want to play wrestling, or you want to do wrestling and you want to do jiu-jitsu?
Yeah.
Is it just built towards that, or is it kind of built into football?
I would say it's both, because I'm a big believer that like action creates opportunity. So I started off with just Jujitsu because I had heard that it's a really good like martial arts style to learn, because a lot of people think they can fight, but it's like a completely different thing when you go up against people who are actually like trained and stuff like that. And that was evident the first day that I went because I was just like, I thought I was an athletic guy. I walked in like a power lifter and football and rugby player. Like I was like, all right, I got a little bit of an edge. No, like I just got absolutely squashed. And Matt McGrath, like the teacher there, he was like, he saw me coming in a couple of weeks, and he kind of like explained to me that if I want to get good, I need to come more than once a week. Cause that's all I was doing at first, and like everyone else was training like 4 or 5 times a week. It's too big of like a hill to climb. Like you have to come consistently. And I started coming a bit more consistently, and he asked me how old I was, and at the time I was 17, and he opened my eyes to the fact that I could compete like Canada Games wrestling like this summer coming up, just because like my age is at the perfect gap where like I have like a month or 2 left in like my eligibility, so I can go wrestle. And my brother had done wrestling in like junior high or something like that. I had like watched him do like a competition too. I always thought it'd be cool, but I never did it myself. And like I said, action creates opportunity. I never would have had that opportunity if I didn't like pursue jiu-jitsu, like just that first like getting my foot in the door kind of thing. And then all of a sudden it was like I'm training jiu-jitsu and wrestling and kickboxing and MMA, because like there's cardio in kickboxing that translates to wrestling, and in MMA it's like the striking into wrestling kind of thing. So I can still work on my craft even though it's not like designed for it. And it's really good for football as well, because there's actually a lot of NFL players who were wrestlers. Like, and it's insane cardio. Like I used to be able to run like 110 yards down the field and back like 4 times and be first like amongst like the other kids. And so many times at wrestling I'm just like laying there just like praying to God to give me another breath of air. Like it's completely exhausting, and it really pushes my limits and stuff like that. But in reality, like, it keeps me in shape for football too, because I'm not just like going to the gym and like pushing big numbers. Like I have to be smart about it. I have to be working on my flexibility. I have to be working like to make sure that I'm capable of like functional movement every day. I can't just like push it hard in the gym and then done. Like on a given day, like on like a Wednesday, I'll go to the gym for like 4 o'clock, get out at 5, go to wrestling for 6. Finish that at 7:30, and then do kickboxing till 9 or something like that.
And like school on top of that.
Yeah, and like not even talking about school and stuff like that, or like the next day going and doing like strength and conditioning class, then going to the gym, and then going to jiu-jitsu and MMA and stuff like that. So my afternoons are pretty packed with like sports and stuff always.
I'm just wondering, just like, so you're doing all this on your own, but does Holland have anything that the coach is making you do?
For like the football team?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have, I believe it's 4 slots a week for like the football team to go work out. I can make most of them, except for like once a week I have to go to like the open gym time in like the high performance center, because it's easier for me to get there early and do my workouts and leave a bit early and go there. That like I just can't, like the time wise for my own schedule, I just have to show up a bit early. But we do, like, our head coach, Aaron McIsaac, he came in the other day and everyone was in there. Honestly, if he came a bit more, like, that'd be rock on, because everyone was just pushing it in there that day. I could tell everyone was working hard, trying to show off. Trying to be like, hey,
look at me, coach.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you'll remember this next year when you're picking the lineup and stuff like that. But Holland College football mostly just kind of has like, they gave us like a strength and conditioning kind of plan, like a program. Zach Davidson, the O-lineman coach, and they just have like time slots for us. They don't really have like time like where the whole team comes back together and stuff like that in the off season, but it's kind of up to you. It's like, you want to play football, you want to be good, well, you better get after it. So.
Yeah. So you're kind of a hipster of sports, to say.
A little bit.
Football isn't big on the island, but that you drew to that. Hockey is big, but you shied away from hockey. Wrestling isn't big, you're there. Jiu-jitsu isn't big, you're there.
Yeah.
You know, what sport takes your heart? What sport takes your mind?
It's tough because I absolutely, I have a passion for football, 100%. And I've always wanted to compete at the collegiate level in football. But it's also just very unfortunate that I happen to find all these other sports that I love at the same time while I'm trying to pursue it. And I'm young right now, so I'm able to kind of, just manage my time and, be disciplined to do all of them at once. I know, at some point something's got to give. I've got to focus on just one. But football right now is my number one priority, and wrestling is my number two, because I have a competition coming up. I'm going to Canada Games in the summer in Niagara Falls, and there's national champions who've been wrestling for 7 or 8 years, right? And I've only been wrestling for a year and a half by the time that time comes. So I can't afford to miss practice and stuff like that.
What are your expectations for this event coming up?
It's kind of my mindset, go big or go home. I'm coming for the goals. If they want points, come and take them. 100%. I'm not just going to roll over for them. Hell no. But obviously, I know I have a long way to go. My expectations for myself are high, but I'm also very realistic. I understand that I might just get swept, a 10-point spread, match is over. It might happen. But if they want points, they got to come get them.
Yeah. So what stands between you and Canada Games right now?
So there's only one other wrestler. The one benefit of Team PEI is the population. Like you said, it's not a very popular sport. So there's only one other person in my weight class at a club. So basically, there's a wrestle off that has to happen in April or May, and whoever wins that wrestle off gets to go and compete for that weight class. So between now and then, I have time to train. He has time to train. So it just kind of comes down to who can absorb the most and be in the best physical shape and technical shape by that time. So that's the only thing standing between.
So give us a short breakdown before we go here
Sure.
of the sabermetrics of that wrestling match. Who's winning it?
I don't want to say because I don't want to sound cocky, but I think I have a very good chance of winning that wrestling match. Just because...
You gotta have confidence in yourself.
Yeah, I do have confidence in myself. It's more so I won't take him lightly. In practice, we don't try to hurt each other. It's
You're
just
trying to work off of each other.
Yeah, we're both trying to make each other better. But when push comes to shove, it's just going to be is he going to be able to meet my intensity? Because I'm very, very competitive. I'm very nice. I'm very caring. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. But when it comes push to shove, if it's my time or his time, I'm going to choose my time if I have any say in it. So when it comes down to it, I'm going to go for the blast double. I'm going to do whatever I can to win. And if he wins, all props to him. He deserves it. But if I win, then I deserve it. So
fair enough. So for football, I want to go back to it.
Yep.
You were Rookie of the Year.
Yep.
So expectations going into next year at Holland, I'm guessing you're going back there.
Yeah.
What are your expectations for yourself next year? Not just the team, but yourself.
Well, I'm kind of the type of guy, because I'm so competitive, the grass is always greener. So when I got 2021 Rookie of the Year, I was that's awesome. And I lived it up for about a week. I was on my high horse, and then I was but another running back got MVP. And it didn't sit well with me. So when I'm in the gym and I'm working out and it's getting heavy, I'm well, would that guy just let this weight go, or would he push for another rep or two? So I just kind of use it as fuel. If I'm in the gym, it's kind of how far am I willing to go? Yeah. Because if I'm not going to show up to the gym, I don't deserve it. But if I do show up, then I'm going to have the confidence going on the field that I can be the MVP this next season.
It's your tackling fuel.
Yes, exactly. It fuels me to be in there.
Is there any moments from this past year of football, stories or whatever, that stood out to you more than anything else?
Honestly, there was a moment in myself that stood out, and it was kind of something I had never felt before, because it's easy to talk shit. It's really easy to be all confident. In practice, we had a lot of that, where we were this is the game, but there was a moment when I had my headphones on and 50 Cent was playing on that bus, and I never took pre-workout before this, for a long time, and I could just feel the electricity in my veins, and I was okay, I know my assignments, I know what I'm going to do, and that was the game that I really started like popping off. And then if not like that moment right there, like I remember that moment so clearly because I was looking around at everyone on the bus. Everyone had like the
eye black on.
The eye black on and stuff like that. Like we were about to go to war, and we just kind of had to show like what we have to offer in the AFL and stuff like that. But
and how did you end up doing that game?
I scored 4 touchdowns.
All right, so you get 4 touchdowns that game, right? Really good game, but you still go into that off season, right? And you're working hard. Now I always think of this Emmitt Smith commercial. I think it was Emmitt Smith, where he's bench pressing and he's like, "I won the Super Bowl. I can rest now." And he just stops and he's like, "All right," and he gets back to it. He takes that like half-second rest, right?
Yeah.
So, what is your focus this offseason to get that MVP?
Honestly, the one thing that I think I need as a running back to get to that next level is speed. And the one thing that wrestling is really good for is it's a lot of endurance work. It's a lot of like fast twitch movement. Like when you go for a shot, you need to be in, and you need to be exactly like where you're taught to be. Otherwise, they're just gonna squash you. And I'm in the gym pretty consistently. Obviously, strength's important, but I've kind of moved away this off season from my powerlifting background, just trying to lift the heaviest possible weight whenever. Like a week or two ago, I bench pressed 250 pounds, 5 sets of 5. Got 6 on my last set, which was the most I'd ever done up to that point. And the next week, I had plateaued on bench. And I was thinking to myself, like, it took me an hour just to complete this. Like, it's not exactly, functional, or worth it. Yeah, like, it is worth it in a sense because I'm training my strength.
Yeah.
But there's other things I can work on, such as, like, my flexibility, because injuries as a running back are very high. It's a very injury-prone position. And I think like flexibility, muscular endurance, like my cardio and stuff like that are all things that I can work on personally in the gym to make my shot at MVP that much better, because I'm already a lot faster than most of the linebackers, but if the safety reads it well and the linebacker reads it well now I got to resort to strength, and I have the strength there. I'd much rather just have the speed just to run right by them and leave them in the dust.
Yeah. Maybe get some food for your linemen too, so you don't end up like your grandfather.
100%. If I can get that left tackle and that right tackle just to do exactly as they're supposed to, then awesome. My O-lineman block, and I will do whatever I can to make them happy.
You just mentioned about linebackers. Your buddy from Cornwall, Tyler Newson.
Yep, Tyler Newson.
Do you use him to like kind of work on your speed a little bit?
Oh, absolutely. The summer, like maybe 2 or 3 summers ago, like me, Tyler Newson, Parker Williams, another one of my Cornwall Timberwolves teammates, we used to go to Stone Park, and there's a huge hill. And me and Newson and Parker, we would just run that hill all day, because we'd have Coach Oz, who's the defensive coordinator. He was the Timberwolves defense coach at the time. He'd be there, instructing us, just putting us to work, all right, full field sprint. If we were doing one-on-ones, I was on the offensive side, he was on the defensive side. If we were doing, running drills where, I'm doing my footwork and finding the hole, he was there to, go up against me. So it's kind of like steel against steel, right? Because he was an all-star linebacker this year and stuff like that, and we really do press each other. I know if I come through the hole, or if I go out to the side and I meet Newson, I can give him my what I got, and he can give me what I got, because we're both just trying to benefit from each other, and we're trying to race each other up the hill and stuff like that, and we're trying to beat each other to the other side of the field. So he's a great help for sure.
So to wrap it up, I know that you have a lot planned for the future, but if you had to say what your future plans were, what would they be?
Well, future plans, if I was to sum it up, great quote one of my coworkers told me. He was in the Navy. He said, "If you piss like a puppy, you can't expect to hang out with the big dogs." And whatever I do, I just want to be crushing it. I don't really know. I don't have a set view. I'm not one of those people who's just gonna fall in line and just work a job at 20 to 65 and be all right, we'll call her there, and go on. I just want to travel. I want to play my sports. I want to do really good. I don't want to have any regrets. Whatever I do, I really just want to, know that I put my best foot forward always. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you're going to fight like you're the third monkey to Noah's Ark.
Exactly.
Boy, is it raining.
Absolutely. 100%.
All right. That's episode 9, folks. Thank you very much for listening. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, don't forget to subscribe and follow along. If you're listening on YouTube, leave us a like, a comment, and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you for listening, and cue the music.